Hey, it's Kelly with CitrusCycles.ca. I'm here with the Delta TX trike. It's custom made in Germany by HP Velotechnik. It's a unique trike for HP as it is their first Delta trike. That means it's got two wheels on the back here and one in the front. It's got the chopper style handlebars, as they call it. It has the above seat steering with the handlebars just like a bike, and that is actually quite different from the rest of their trikes, which are tadpole trikes with two wheels in the front and one wheel in the back. However, it still has the amazing suspension for comfort and stability, and of course the very comfortable seating that HP is well known for, along with the German engineering and the many options available for configuring the trike to your needs. In this video, I'm going to start with a quick summary of why you might want a trike, why a Delta trike, such as this one, might be a good option to consider, and then do a quick rundown of the main features on the Delta TX. After that, I'll dig into the specifics of the Delta TX and take you on a ride test. Now, the video is going to be quite long, so feel free to skip around. On our website at CitrusCycles.ca, we'll have all of the detailed specs and pricing in Canada. If you would like to try one out or have us ship one to you fully assembled anywhere in Canada, you can book an appointment or contact us on our website at CitrusCycles.ca. If you have questions or are in Canada, you can find our contact info on our website, but if you're not in Canada, you'll want to contact your local HP dealer instead. Okay, so why ride a trike? Well, there's the obvious reasons, such as the stability offered by a trike compared to a bike. There is no minimum speed, so when I slow down to go around an obstacle or a barrier in the trail, I can go as slowly as I want, or even completely stop, and I won't fall off. On your bike, if you go too slow, well, you are going to fall off. It's also a lot more comfortable. I'm sitting in a chair where my body weight is spread out, and I am supported instead of a bike seat, where you also put a lot of strain on your neck, shoulders, elbows, and wrists. There are also some not so obvious reasons. When I first started riding a trike, I had ridden on the trail from my home to work thousands of times on my bike. And the first time I rode on my trike, I saw things that I'd never seen before. And that was because I could shift my attention away from subconsciously making sure that I don't fall off my bike. It's not something I consciously consider when I'm riding my bike, but you are actually taking in a lot of visual stimuli in order to stay upright on a bike. And so you really have to focus on the trail in front of you. When riding a trike, I can shift my focus, I can look at what's going on around me and enjoy the scenery because I don't have to focus so much about making sure that I don't fall. I also feel safer on the road on my trike than on my bike, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. I'll also talk more later in the video about the advantages and disadvantages of having a Delta configuration with the two wheels in the back and the one wheel in the front, such as the benefits of a much better turning radius, the above seat steering, and a differential to give power to both of the rear wheels. The Delta TX is unique for HP not only because of the two wheels in the back and the one up front, but it is actually their first trike that is only available with the E-Assist. The rest of their tadpole trikes are available without a motor, but the Delta TX only comes with a motor, and so it was designed specifically as an electric trike. So that means they've made some really great design choices with that in mind, such as these really nice, wide, comfortable, and puncture-resistant Supermoto tires. Now, unlike the rest of the HP trikes, the Delta TX doesn't fold. However, it does come apart in two pieces for transport. Now, I have a video of that on our website from HP that shows the process. It is actually fairly easy to do, as you'll see in the video, and compared to folding, it does take a little bit longer. However, it does give you the advantage of only having to lift half the trike at once. You take the front part is disconnected, you only have to lift that up. The back part is disconnected, so it's going to make it quite a bit lighter, whereas when you fold a regular trike, you still have to lift the entire weight of that trike into your vehicle. Now, the Delta TX is custom made in Germany, allowing you to choose from a variety of different options, and I'll try to explain all of those later in the video. It does have a very high seating position, as you can see here. for increased visibility while you're riding, and you get a really great view of your surroundings as well. Now, this one here is their premium seat, and you can slide it forward and backwards very easily. You just loosen off the blue quick release on this side and one on this side, and that's going to allow you to slide the seat forward to be closer to the pedals or further back to be further away from the pedals. And you can also remove the seat entirely when you're transporting it. So this higher seating position and really this very low frame here makes it very easy to get on and off, to sit on it. Often a lot of our customers will just sit down, throw their leg over, super easy, now you can ride. The above seat steering here means that it's easy to get used to since it has handlebars, just like a bike. And we have adjustments here for the height of the handlebars and kind of the angle as well, so we can get them closer, we can get them higher, lots of adjustability there. Although I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more adjustability on the angle like we see on, say, the Haza Trigo. They actually have a quick release and a hinge here to adjust the angle a little bit easier, but it is still fairly easy to adjust. You will just need to use the Allen keys to make that adjustment. Now, there are a few different seat options, but this premium seat is incredibly comfortable and highly adjustable. In fact, the Delta TX is an incredibly comfortable trike, not just because of that super cushy seat, but because it does have a shock here underneath the seat to give you lots of comfort over rougher terrain by isolating you from the bumps. When you configure your trike, you can choose between a lower torque or higher torque Shimano motor for the hills, different gearing options, even automatic shifting, and I'll explain all of that a little bit later in the video. For safety, we do have front light built in, running off of your main battery. It's got a nice side cutout here for side visibility, reflective sidewalls on the tires for visibility as well, and a rear light as well for safety. Other safety features include hydraulic rear brakes, and we also recommend adding the very large mirror and, of course, a safety flag for increased visibility. It also comes with this very large and convenient basket. We just press on the quick release there and you can pick it up and bring it in with you. It's quite an impressive capacity. Push that back in and it locks into place so it's not going anywhere while you're riding. And you can even mount bags on the back seat if you wish with a special attachment for that, or you can add walking stick holders like we've added on this one. These are fantastic tires. The Supermoto X are wide and comfortable, puncture-resistant tires. They have the reflective sidewall, which we really like to have. I love these SKS fenders, give you full coverage. Look at that, even the flap on the front there, so you're not get your feet wet or dirty riding through puddles. Same on the back here. Interestingly, this is actually our narrowest trike at about 29.5 inches, so it easily fits through doorways and barriers in the trail. And because it's a Delta, it has an amazing turning radius, as you'll see in the ride test video, which you could skip to at any time. So HP decided to call this trike the Delta TX because, well, it's their only Delta trike. That means it does have the 2 wheels on the back here and 1 up front. All the rest of the trikes are tadpoles with 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back. Now, it's pretty common for me to hear from people that a tadpole trike with the 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back is more stable. However, the Delta TX is very stable, as are the Delta trikes from Haza, another German company. In a lot of cases, people making these statements haven't actually tried them. They just go by what they read online or what they heard from someone else. Now, if you actually come and try them all, and we've got lots of trikes in our store here in Shimano, and you can make an appointment to come try them all out, you may find that the reason that some people feel that they're not as stable is actually due to the steering. The steering on a Delta is much more responsive than a tadpole. In other words, you only have to turn your handlebars a little bit to affect a big change. That means I can easily do a U-turn on a narrow trail in a Delta. And in the ride test, I'm going to show off the maneuverability of this trike. However, if you aren't used to it, you may feel that the steering is twitchy. In other words, if you become inattentive, you take one of your hands off the handlebars and look behind you, it could easily start turning in another direction. Of course, that's easily solved. Keep your both hands on the wheel or the handlebars, and use a mirror instead of having to turn your head to look behind you. And basically, just recognize that steering is very responsive. It's going to turn very easily. You don't have to turn very hard, and it'll respond quite quickly. Now, with a tadpole with two wheels in the front instead, you do have a much larger turning radius, and the steering isn't responsive, so that can cause some people to think that it is actually more stable. So now that I've compared a Delta trike to a tadpole trike, I want to do one other comparison that you may find helpful. Before I dive into all the detailed specs of the trike and take you on a test ride, let's compare the Delta TX from HP to two other Delta trikes, also made in Germany, but from Hase. In terms of pricing and features, the Delta TX actually kind of slots in between the entry-level Hase Trigo Up and the higher-end Hase Kettwesel. So like the Delta TX, the Trigo Up has above-seat steering. However, it doesn't offer any suspension, it doesn't fold or disassemble for transport, and it only has the option of a low-torque Shimano E5000 motor and a Nexus 8-speed internally geared hub at the back there. It does only have manual shifting instead of a variety of motor and drivetrain options available with the Delta TX that I'll talk about in a few moments. It does have narrower, less puncture-resistant tires, but it does come in at a lower price point. Now, the Kettwesel from Hase is more expensive than the Delta, but it does have the option of a higher torque Shimano motor. And it does have a variety of transmission options, and it has an air shock on both of the rear wheels, plus a suspension fork up front. So it is very comfortable and suitable for off-road riding. It also folds for transport, but of course that comes at a higher price. Now, a unique feature to Hase is that both the Trigo and the Kettwesel can easily be connected to another trike to make a tandem. And I do have a video of how to do that on our website at citruscycles.ca. So now that we've explored why you might want a trike and what's unique about the Delta TX, I'll dive into all of the details and the configuration options. If you wish, you're welcome to skip to the ride test if you aren't keen on all the specs. When we configure your Delta TX, there are a lot of options to consider, including the color. It's available in what they call Blue Flash or the Sparkling Iron Gray. There are two main seat options, the ErgoMesh and the ErgoMesh Premium. The Premium is what I have installed here, and it adds more padding, plus the ability to independently adjust the angle of the back, forward and aft, and the bottom up and down. That's because it's actually hinged, and so you can also fold it completely flat for transport. The regular ErgoMesh is pretty much like all trike seats, which means that when you adjust the back, it is going to adjust the bottom angle at the same time, and it won't fold flat. Now, both seats have straps at the back here that allows you to tighten it up to make a higher tension, firmer seat, or relaxed, a little bit cushier. You can adjust each of those straps to your preference. And you can also add or remove cushions, the Orthoflex cushions, to make it even softer, or to slightly change the shape if you need a little bit more support in certain areas. The ErgoMesh Premium also has the option of these very handy seat back bags. I use one for a rain cover for the seat and the other for the security chain for the frame lock. If you go with the non-premium seat, there's going to be a little zipper compartment at the top there with a small little pocket. Now, both seats are available in XL versions, which is what this one is. That makes it 5 centimeters wider, sorry. And on the ErgoMesh seat, it makes it 3 centimeters taller. Here's the regular premium seat on a different trike. You can see it's a little bit narrower when we compare it to the wide XL seat. You can also get both seats in an HS version, which moves the seat up 11 centimeters higher than the standard seat. So here's a HS. You can see they've got a riser on there that is making it quite a bit taller, whereas here's the standard one without that riser. Now, I generally wouldn't recommend that option as it may actually make it difficult to get on and off the trike, and it will increase your center of gravity, reducing your stability. You'll notice that to adjust the reach to the pedals, you're going to slide the seat back and forth. And when you're doing disassembly, you actually slide the seat straight off. Now, most trikes allow you to adjust the boom length to adjust for your leg length, which changes the overall length of the trike. With the Delta TX, the length is fixed, and you simply slide the seat forward and backwards to adjust the distance from the pedals. See if I can do that with one hand while holding the camera here. I basically loosen off the blue lever on this side and the blue lever on the other side. The other levers down here allow me to adjust the angle of the seat back and the angle of the seat bottom as well. Once I've got those loosened off, I can simply pull the seat to go backwards or forwards. And what you'll notice is as I move that seat backwards, let's see if I can do that. I'll just have to put the camera down for a moment. Okay, there we go. You can see I've moved the seat quite a bit further back, and as it goes back, it goes higher. Now that's quite clever because generally if you have longer legs and need the seat further back, you're also going to be taller. So moving the seat up higher makes it easier to get on. And the closer we need to move the seat to the pedals, well, you're probably a little bit shorter, and so it'll make it easier getting on and off. You can choose from a Bafang or a Shimano motor, and both are mid-drive. So that means that the motor is helping you turn the chain. The advantage of that is it feels just like a regular bike when you're riding, and when you change gears to make it easier to pedal, or if you have an automatic transmission, the motor, because it's turning the chain, is also part of the transmission. So that means you have gears for your motor. You change to an easier gear to make it easier up the hill. It's also easier for the motor, and it makes things a lot more efficient, gives you very efficient battery usage, and just gives you a really enjoyable ride that feels just like riding a regular bike or trike. Because we have the differential here and the motor is turning the chain, that means it's turning both of the rear wheels. It means you don't have to worry about spinning out or losing traction. It's a little bit easier to change a flat tire. We really prefer having a mid-drive motor than to putting a motor in the front wheel. That is prone to spinning out on loose terrain or wet terrain, and certainly can be a lot harder to change a flat tire. It also means you're not leveraging the mechanical advantage of your transmission. So we love having a mid-drive, and you can have one both from Shimano or from Bafang. Now, obviously, Shimano is a well-known and respected bike brand with an excellent service network throughout the world, including here in Canada. Unfortunately, with Bafang, we are reliant on HP in Germany for parts. So if you want a spare battery, or if you need parts out of warranty in the future, the shipping charges will be much higher and the lead times will be much longer than with Shimano's parts. Now, speaking of batteries, the Shimano system offers 3 battery capacities, from the smaller 418 watt-hour to the massive 630 watt-hour. If you choose to go with the Bafang M300, it only comes with the 450 watt-hour battery and the more basic display. The Shimano system does support Bluetooth and has some great apps you can use, and they offer a number of display options. HP offers 3 different Shimano motors, which I'll talk about in a bit, with the EP801 Cargo Motor, that's what I have here, offering the highest torque at 85 Newton meters and the highest assist level, while the Bafang M300 is rated for 80 Newton meters, but it generally seems to have less power and is less responsive. We also really like the way the Shimano system performs and how easy it is for us to get assistance from Shimano if we need it. So you may be wondering, well, why is HP offering the option from Bafang, especially since they don't offer it on any of the rest of their trikes? Well, they do seem to have a stronger European presence, so I imagine it's easier for dealers in Germany to get service from Bafang. And the motor is a less expensive solution, especially when compared to the Shimano higher torque motor, the EP801. But I believe that the main reason for using the M300 from Bafang is that it only relies on a speed sensor instead of both a speed sensor and a torque sensor like the Shimano. So what does that mean? Well, with the Bafang system, it only knows if you're pedaling or not pedaling, and it responds with the assistance level according to the level of assistance you've selected. In other words, it doesn't matter how hard you pedal, it doesn't know how hard you're pedaling. It simply knows you're pedaling or not, so the assistance basically turns on and off. It's almost as if your pedals are a throttle, so that when you pedal, the motor turns on, and when you don't pedal, the motor turns off. There's also a start assist that may help you get started since there isn't that torque sensor. This is interesting because in Germany, you're not allowed to have a throttle on an e-bike. So in some ways, this allows them to have the effect of an on-off throttle by using the pedals to activate the motor. In other words, it doesn't matter how hard or lightly you pedal, the motor power will always be the same based on your speed of pedaling. That is not how most people expect a bike to respond, and that's the advantage of the Shimano system using both the speed and the torque sensor. So the torque sensor pays attention to how hard you're pedaling and matches the power accordingly. Although, to be clear, if you put the Shimano system on boost, you don't have to pedal hard to get lots of power from the motor, especially with this EP801 Cargo Motor. However, if you have it on the lowest level or the middle level, it will be very responsive. If you pedal harder because you have a hill climbing, it will respond with lots of power. If you ease off on your pedaling because you've got a barrier in the trail or a tight corner, it knows that and reduces the power so you don't end up having problems. Now, neither motor is going to have a throttle, and with the Shimano system, you really don't need one, even on a very steep hill. As soon as you put pressure on the pedals, it uses that very sensitive torque sensor to know that you need power, and it gives you the power right away. There's no delay, so you don't need a throttle to get started. However, if you do need help getting started, there is a walk mode which will move you along around 3 to 5 kilometers an hour. Normally on a bike, this is only used for pushing the bike, since you would fall off trying to ride it under 5 kilometers an hour. But on a trike, you can go as slow as you want, so you won't fall off. Now, keep in mind, we get a lot of questions about throttles. A throttle can't give you any more power than the motor is already capable of giving you by pedaling. So, if you put the motor on the highest level, you'll easily get across an intersection quickly or up a hill. HP offers 3 Shimano motors. There's the E5000. It's a low torque motor with only 40 Newton meters, and it's best for flat areas or very strong riders. The E6100 moves you up to 60 Newton meters of torque. That means the hills are going to be 50% easier, but ideally, the EP801 Cargo Motor is the way to go if you've got hills, as it gives you 85 Newton meters of torque and up to 400% assistance compared to the 200% on the E6100. The EP801 Cargo is also Shimano's newest motor, giving you some of the great features in the app, such as adding additional assist levels, customizing the assist levels and the motor behavior, and it uses Shimano's newest batteries. It is a very responsive motor. Now, speaking of customizing, HP is using the SC E5000 display here. Simple to use, nice and big, easy to read. It's a very good display. However, it doesn't have Bluetooth. So if you do want to make those motor adjustments on the EP801 Cargo like I was talking about, or the automatic shifting, which I'm going to talk about very soon, you'll want us to add a Bluetooth module from Shimano so that you can do that. So in addition to motor choices, you have lots of choices for your transmission or your gears. Having a transmission is important so that your cadence, that is how quickly your legs are spinning, is the same and comfortable regardless if you're going up or down a hill. In other words, without a transmission, when you start going up a hill and start going slower, your legs would also start going slower, and eventually it would just be impossible to climb the hill, even with a motor. Just like your vehicle has gears that change automatically to climb a hill, you need gears as well. It's going to make the motor more efficient, and it's going to make it a lot easier to climb hills. So being in the right gear is important even with the motor. Your options include the SRAM X4. It's an 8-speed conventional derailleur with the chain jumping up and down the gears. I don't have one here to show you, but I'll try to find that later for you. I don't really recommend it. With the 8 speeds, it's a very narrow gear ratio. That means it's going to be hard to climb on hills. So if you go with that option, you really only want to use it on flat terrain. And it is only available if you go with the Bafang motor or the Shimano E5000 low torque motor. Now, if you don't have a lot of hills, you may consider the Nexus Di2. It has 8 gears enclosed in the hub in the back. Now, this is a different trike. I don't have a Delta with the 8-speed, but it gives you an idea of what it looks like. All the gears are enclosed inside there. It shifts electronically, so that means you can choose to have it automatically shift the gears for you with the ability to manually override it, or you can manually shift the gears simply by pressing the button up and down for shifting. Because all the gears are enclosed in the back there, you can actually shift while you're stopped. So if you're cruising along in your top gear, you stop suddenly, no problem. You can shift it, or it can automatically shift into an easier gear to get started. With that SRAM X4 8-speed, of course, regular drivetrain on a bike, you can't actually shift while you're stopped, so you have to make sure you downshift before you stop. With this Di2, you can do that while you're stopped. Now, you do need to ease off a little bit on your pedaling when you are going up a steep hill in order for it to shift to an easier gear. But there's also no adjustments to make, really very little maintenance. You don't have to worry about the chain falling off because it's not jumping up and down gears. It's fixed on that single cog there, so it's a really nice, easy to use solution. Now, it will only work with the lower torque E5000 or E6100 motors as it doesn't handle high torque. If you like the idea of automatic shifting, but want something that works with the higher torque motor or prefer a sportier shifting experience, then you can get the new Shimano CUES Di2 with the EP801 Cargo high torque motor like we have here on our test trike. This is a traditional gearing system. It's hard to see in there, but there is a cassette and the chain jumps up and down the gears with the derailleur here. But it has a twist. It is electronic, so you simply press the button to shift. It is right here, and you can shift the gears electronically simply by pressing the button. But unlike a conventional shifting system with the derailleur, you can actually shift while you're coasting, and it has an automatic mode. With the automatic mode, it will automatically adjust to keep your cadence the same, and you can easily toggle between 2 different cadences on the display if you like to vary the cadence. Just press the button over there, adjust the cadence. If you choose this route, you may want us to add that Bluetooth option, so you can use the Shimano app to adjust your cadence for the 2 settings or make other shifting adjustments. Now, keep in mind that it is a regular derailleur in there, so it's going to be a little bit noisy when you're shifting, especially since it may shift under load while you're pedaling. Now, using a clever trick with the motor, the system can shift while you're coasting, right? You can't do that on a regular drivetrain. You're coasting, the gear's not going to change until the chain is moving. So this is actually going to use the motor to move the chain just a little bit so that it can shift for you even while you're coasting. However, like a conventional drivetrain, you will need to replace your gears from time to time, although with the CUES system from Shimano, it should last much longer than in the past. If you want a much quieter, smooth, and seamless automatic shifting system, then go with the Enviolo Automatiq. Again, we've got a different trike here, but this is what the Enviolo Automatiq looks like on here. It is a sealed, continuously variable transmission, so it smoothly adjusts so that your cadence is always the same. It's essentially silent, and there aren't specific gears like the Shimano system. It's infinitely variable between the highest and the lowest gear ratio. Now, you can use the Enviolo app to change your cadence, or we can add a hardware control that allows you to adjust your cadence on the fly. For more details on this idea of the Enviolo Automatiq, check out our Ice Adventure page on our website at citruscycles.ca for an in-depth video and explanation. Finally, at the top end of the price spectrum is the Rohloff internally geared hub. It has 14 gears enclosed in a hub that does allow you to shift while you're stopped and not have to worry about replacing the gears, as it will last a very, very long time. It also has a massive 526% gear ratio, which compared to the 380% on the Enviolo, means it has a much lower low gear for climbing hills and a much higher high gear for going fast. Although you can shift while stopped, it doesn't really like shifting while you're pedaling, so you do have to interrupt your pedaling when climbing a hill to shift gears, and that can sometimes cause challenges if you're going really slowly. So some of our customers prefer the Enviolo, which has a little bit more success shifting under a heavy load. And here's what the transmission looks like with that cover off. You can see here we've got the CUES Di2 on this one, so we've got the cassette on there. But you could have an Enviolo or a Rohloff. I've got lots of transmission options. The cool thing is they have a quick release here, so we can actually take that out should we need to replace the cassette. Of course, that is a wear item. And then we have the drive chain here. So this is your transmission here, going back up to the crank arms under the motor. And then the power is transferred by using this short chain here back to the axle here. And then we have power to both rear wheels, because we do have a differential in there. It's really quite an elegant solution. We just have the single chain here to the back, and then there are some cogs in the wheel mechanism here that drives the two wheels. It's quite a nice solution. On the Ket Basel from Haase, for example, they're going to actually have a chain on each of the wheels, so this is a little bit simpler because we just have that single pivot point for both rear wheels on the suspension at the back. In addition to choices for the seat, motor, and transmission, you have a few other options to consider. For example, you can add a neck rest that is adjustable with a quick release. These super handy bags that can hold your chain for the lock, or a rain cover, go on the back of the seat. And speaking of a lock, we do have an optional frame lock here that's going to put a steel bar through the front wheel so nobody can ride your bike away. To do that, we just grab the key here, put it in the keyway on the side. While we're turning the key, we're going to push this knob here down, and that's going to put a steel bar through. Let me show you that. So now you can see that steel bar going through the front wheel here. That means nobody can ride your trike away. Now, if somebody was organized, had a buddy and a big truck, they could pick it up, put it in the back of their truck. So for that reason, we do have this optional security chain, which we recommend. It's hardened steel coated in nylon so that it's not going to scratch anything. You're going to loop this around whatever you're securing it to, and all you do is plug it in the side here, and it's going to be locked. And the great thing about that is this chain doesn't actually have a lock because you already have the lock built into the trike. So that means the key here that we use for the frame lock, just turn that to release it. There we go. Is also the key we use to remove the security chain. Very convenient. I mentioned that the Delta TX has a rear shock, which is important not just for comfort as it isolates you from the bumps, but also improves the handling by ensuring your rear wheels are on the ground when you go over rough terrain instead of bumping up and down. It also ensures that you aren't trying to swerve and avoid rough terrain, making you unsafe in traffic and realistically, in most cases, unsuccessful in trying to avoid the object, as you actually have 3 separate wheels that you're trying to avoid objects with, and the 2 are behind you. So having that suspension definitely helps make it more comfortable, but it also means you can just ride through rough terrain and not worry about trying to avoid things. Now it does come with a spring shock by default, and you can choose the spring based on your weight. However, it is worth considering upgrading to the air shock. So not only will the air shock give you a cushier ride, but you can also easily adjust the suspension by using a shock pump, connecting it here, and adding or removing air based on the weight of the rider and their gear. The Delta TX comes with Shimano hydraulic brakes on both rear wheels and gives you lots of stopping power. We love having hydraulic brakes. It doesn't require the strength of your hand to stop a heavier trike with the motor and the battery on there, and maybe you've got some gear on that handy basket in the back there. It also means that they're self-adjusting, so you're not having to worry about adjusting them, and you don't have to worry about the cable stretching or breaking. Now we do have a left and right. Both are going to control each of the rear brakes. If you have limited strength in one of your hands, you can actually get coupled rear brakes, and that's going to allow one lever to control both rear brakes. You can even choose to add a front mechanical brake, but it really isn't necessary, and then it does make it very difficult to disassemble the trike for transport. You can also add a parking brake to the front or rear, but again, if you plan on transporting the trike by disconnecting the front half from the rear half, it's best to have the parking brake on the rear. Now, you definitely want a parking brake, and by the way, here you can see we've got two brakes on the rear, this rear right tire. There's your hydraulic stopping brake up top there, and then there is your parking brake. The parking brake we activate with this lever here, so it's an on-off brake. Now it's off, the trike's going to roll. Now it's on, the trike's going to be stationary. You definitely want a parking brake so the trike doesn't roll around or away while you're getting on and off, and you can easily stop in the middle of a hill, set the parking brake, and enjoy the scenery. If you don't get a parking brake, you'll want to have a Velcro strap handy so that you can use the strap to hold the brake lever in place while you get on and off. It's rather inconvenient if you're on a slope trying to hold the brake in place while putting a strap around it. Another great safety feature is the built-in front and rear light running off your main battery. Now, HP is using a high-quality German light from B&M, which means the light meets German road regulations and won't blind oncoming traffic. Well, it shines the light exactly where you need it in a nice wide pattern. And sometimes people make the mistake of buying, a really high, cheap Lux light, and then they discover that the quality of the beam and the beam pattern are just as important as the Lux rating. So the stock IQ-XS friendly light that comes with the trike is 80 lux, so it's quite bright, and it's friendly because the casing is made out of 100% biodegradable plastic. Now you can upgrade the light like I have to the IQ-X from B&M. That's going to give you 140 lux. Now, if you're really concerned about safety, you can actually add turn signals. So I have the turn signals on my Scorpion FS26 here. You can see we've got them on the back, and we've got the little remote here. So I just press the button there, and you can see it starts flashing quite brightly at the back and also at the front. It's a little blocked by the fairing I have on here, but you can see it's there, and we've got the one on the right as well. The nice thing is that we can mount them so you don't have to take your hands off the handlebars. You can see it flashes to tell me that it's activated. There are the little LEDs there, and then to turn it off, it's like that. I actually really like having the turn signals. I find that even though if I do hand signals, which sometimes can be tricky if you're coming down a hill and you need to apply your brakes and you're trying to signal, a lot of times people don't know what I'm doing. So I find that these are very clear to motorists that my intentions are turning, and maybe just my perception, but it feels to me that I get a little bit more respect as a road user when I have those turn signals. For whatever reason, it just grabs people's attention and they seem to respect me a little bit more. So that is an option that you can add. We also have helmets with turn signals as well, but I do really like the ones on the front and the rear and the remote here, making it really easy to turn them on and off. For safety, I also recommend this handy mirror here, and it's nice. It's quite adjustable with the ball joint there. Good visibility behind you. A flag, of course, is also a great safety feature as well, even though the trike itself is very visible. Speaking of safety, you'll notice we have some reflectors on the fenders here, reflector on the rack holder and the rear light, of course. We also have these little wheels here on the back. You may be wondering what those are for. If you get this trike with the EP8 like we've configured it, that EP801 Cargo Motor has lots and lots of power. So HP is a little bit concerned that if you put a lot of weight in the rack here, you're a heavy rider yourself, and you've got that really powerful motor, you start on a really steep hill, they're concerned that it's possible that you could get front wheel lift where your wheel comes off the ground, and they don't want you, getting injured. So these roller wheels here are designed to come into contact with the ground and make sure that you're not flipping around. So I haven't really had an opportunity to experience that. I think I'd have to have just the right set of circumstances to make that happen, because the trike is incredibly stable. But I suppose under the right set of circumstances, it's a possibility. So that's a choice if you have the lower torque motors. If it's a high torque motor, they want you to get that just to be on the safe side. Now, although it isn't necessarily a safety item, I do really recommend these nice wide SKS fenders here. They fit the nice wide tires really well. They've got the little mud flap on the back there and on the front as well. So nice and low on the front, just to make sure that you're not going to get any mud or muck on you as you're riding. But I also recommend them because on the rear here, they are going to protect your hands from the wheels. Should you be riding along, take one of your hands off and end up touching the wheel, that would not be a good thing. So that could help protect that. Ideally though, let's keep both your hands on the handlebars as you're riding. We don't want to have one hand coming down, because even if you've got the fenders there to protect you, it's possible, I mean, it'd be difficult, but you could get your fingers in the spokes or on the brake rotor. So let's just, from a safety perspective, keep your hands on the steering. Now, HP has a number of other great accessories. For example, we can mount water bottle cages on both sides of the seat, which are really easy to access while you're riding. We could add a trailer hitch, lots of different accessories. For example, on this trike here, we've added a side bag mount, so we can actually put a handlebar bag on there. The nice thing about that is it's easy to reach while you're riding, so if you want to put your phone or your camera or some snacks in there, it's easy to access as you're riding. You can also add a bag holder to the back of the seat, so you can put a standard pannier bag on the back if you wish. I haven't done that because, well, we've got this awesome basket, huge capacity, and so that's quite convenient for storing things and transporting things. I have added the walking stick or cane holder on the back here. We've got two of them. You could just have one. At the bottom here we have somewhere to put the bottom, and then we just open this up, put the walking stick in there, close it up. And now you've got that along with you, really easy to bring, so when you get to your destination, if you need some assistance with walking, you've got that along with you. And if you really want to, I don't have it installed in this trike, but we can actually add a seat belt or a harness. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this has above seat steering for that chopper style riding. That means the handlebars are above the seat, compared to under seat steering, which is common on many other trikes, such as this one here. You'll notice that this steering is beside the seat and goes underneath it. Now, above seat steering can be a bit easier to get used to, and certainly gives you an impressive turning radius, as you'll see in the ride test. Below seat steering, though, can alleviate strain on very long rides, since your arms don't have to reach out in front of you, but can relax beside you. It is adjustable in terms of the height and the reach to the seat, so we can bring it closer, further away from you as you ride. If you are under 5'6", you want to configure your Delta TX with the shorter stem. In fact, even if you're a bit taller than that, you may prefer the shorter stem. I also mentioned at the beginning of the video some of the reasons why you might want to ride a trike. For many of our customers, they start exploring a trike because of the benefits of stability. For me, I ride trikes because of the increased comfort and increased enjoyment, because I find it more relaxing and I can see a lot more. Interestingly, I feel safer on the road on a trike than on a bike. For example, if I grab a tape measure and check the width of the handlebars on a bike, we'll find that they are 30 inches. Now, obviously there are different widths of handlebars, but if I put that at the end here and bring that over to the other end, that's, yep, about 30 inches. And with the fenders, the rear wheels here on the Delta TX are, yep, about 30 inches. Same as the handlebar width on the trike. But on the bike, I need a few inches on either side of the handlebars for safety. If someone passes me too quickly and too close, that blast of air could knock me off. And I might not be able to ride perfectly straight, so I need a little bit of a buffer zone on either side of the handlebars. But on a trike, I don't have to worry about that, as I'm very stable, even if someone passes too close. But here's the really big difference. The trike is much more visually imposing. When you look at the trike, you immediately realize exactly how much space I take up on the road. Many motorists, though, when they look at a bike, they see, you know, the 2 inches there that I need on the ground and decide that that's all the space I need on the road, and they give you that much space. So a good example, if you take a standard roadway shoulder and you ride your bike on it, and you probably don't want that shoulder any narrower. It's not like you want to give up extra space, you have just the right amount of space. Well, interestingly, when I ride my trikes, they fit entirely on the shoulder. There's no overlap, and it's more than enough space for me. So in reality, the space I need on the road on a trike is the same as what I need on a bike. But for most motorists, from their perspective, the trike needs a lot more room. You probably went into this video thinking a trike needs more room as well. Turns out it's the same, but that perception definitely works to my benefit because people generally only pass when it's safe to do so, and they're often kind and courteous in a way that maybe they're not always when I'm riding a bike. So in my experience and that of a lot of our customers, you do actually get more respect on the road on a trike than on a bike, and that's partly why I feel safer on my trike. So now that we've looked at all of the options and I've shared why I enjoy riding trikes, let's get to the ride test. So it may seem a little redundant to say that this is an incredibly comfortable trike because of course, you know, trikes should be comfortable, but this is really comfortable. I think very relaxing. You know, like I stopped right now just because there's daffodils over there and I think there's some crocuses up here. And one of the things I really like about the Delta TX here is that it's a nice viewing platform, let's say, in that the seating position is quite nice and high, still very comfortable, very relaxing, but I can easily stop and take a look at the flowers and just, you know, I get a really good view of everything that's going on around me. So yes, all trikes are going to be comfortable, but the seat is fantastic. I've got the premium seat on here, which is highly adjustable. And it's just, yeah, it's a really, you can see, you can look around. I mean, it's just, it's a really good position, riding position. Of course, so far, very, very comfortable with the suspension on the back there. And that is one of the great things about a trike, of course, is stopping and starting. Well, you're in the same position as pedaling and riding. So unlike a bike, I'll stop and look around, whereas when I'm on my bike, it's like, oh, I don't want to stop. It's awkward starting and stopping. Right now I'm riding Delta TX with the CUES Di2. I've got the auto shifting enabled, so I don't have to worry about shifting gears. It's actually quite clever. So far I've been getting along well with it. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of auto shifting, but the nice thing about this is you do have two modes that you can adjust. So you can choose your cadence, and you can do that very easily. It's going to be a little bit noisy because, of course, it's going to be shifting while I'm pedaling. If you wish to just manually shift, you can do that, and then, of course, it's going to you're going to be able to ease off when you're pedaling while you're shifting. In case you're wondering what the beeping is, it's not actually the trike. The GPS remote on my 360 camera here keeps losing connection with the camera, so it likes to beep about that. Lots of stopping power in the brakes. There's no problem coming down that hill. I'm actually quite used to the steering now. At first, anytime you're riding a Delta, it takes a little bit of getting used to, simply because the steering is very responsive. So you're without hands, which you shouldn't do, by the way. It tracks really well. It's not, you know, veering to one side or the other. It does like to straighten itself out, which is good. And yeah, so the nice thing is you've got this really great turning radius, right? So I can turn very sharply, do U-turns, no problem. And it's very, very stable, of course, as you're turning. All right, I'll head up a hill here. So for the hill, I'm going to put it into turbo. And I'll keep it in automatic mode for a while, but I may be inclined to change to manual. The challenge, and this is actually doing quite well, but the challenge is the trike doesn't know that I'm going up a hill. It just knows that it needs to make it easier to pedal. Whereas I know I'm going up a hill and I can see that ahead of time. So when I'm in manual mode, I can choose the gear ahead of time to make it easier to climb up the hill. So It really hasn't been bad. It's been quite good climbing the hill, but it's been hunting a little bit for gears because I was going up the hill pretty quickly. So I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have to be in such an easy gear. I'll make it a little bit harder, but then it's too hard because I'm going up a hill. So it tends to wander around through the gears a little bit. Just going to switch it over to manual now. And there we go. Now I can choose the gears. Now, of course, this is just this particular trike. We've configured it with that Di2 CUES. If you get the Enviolo, it's going to be very, very smooth. There's going to be no clunking from the gears. It's going to shift automatically for you as well. You could go with the Rohloff. I mean, there's so many different gear options. It's nice you've got those choices. Now, here's a challenging barrier in the trail. Okay, this is actually our narrowest trike at 28 inches, so I'm hoping we'll get through there. There we go, no problem, super easy. That is one of the nice things about it. The Delta, not only is it narrow, easy to get through, but the steering is so responsive, it's really easy to get through barriers like that. I guess I don't need it in boost anymore for the hills, so I'll shift that back down. The suspension is awesome. You know, there's a lot of kind of bumps and stuff in the pavement, and you don't notice them. It's just very, very smooth. This one we upgraded to the RockShox air fork, so we can adjust the air based on the rider's preference and weight, but it certainly helps smooth out the ride as well. Just change the camera angle here for a little bit. I'm gonna come to a stop, put the parking brake on, and of course, again, every time I stop on a trike, it's always like, oh, it's so nice stopping on a trike, so easy. Okay, I stopped and repositioned the camera, and I also took the flag down because it would probably interfere with the camera. It is nice having the flag for visibility, although the trike is quite visible on its own. It's a fairly high seating position, and you've got the light on the back, so it's I'm not concerned at all about safety on the road. And that's something, you know, that I mentioned earlier in the video, is that really I do feel very confident that I'm going to be seen by drivers. I don't actually, especially with this narrow width of 28 inches, I don't actually need more room than a bike needs on the road, so. All right, another change of the camera position there. I'll try not to hit any street signs while I'm riding. Trike itself is pretty narrow, but the camera's pretty wide. Lots of modulation in the brakes here, so it's not kind of an on-off situation. I can slow down as much as I wish, but if I need to stop quickly, they dig in very well. You know what, let me head down to the beach here. Try out some gravel, a steep hill. We can try climbing that. Heading over the curb, again, you hardly feel it because of the suspension. So far, you know, braking on the loose gravel here. It's quite slippery gravel, but no problem controlling my speed. One of the things you want to be conscious of on any trike is if you're off camber, so if you're going across a slope, for example, you want to be careful of your angle, and you may have to lean a little bit just to avoid tipping. So I'm on a bit of a slope here, but it's not a problem. That's just feels odd at first. Once you kind of get used to it, like I have from riding trikes for many years, just keeping my eye on that camera. And the great thing again about a trike is I've always got a really comfortable seat with me, so I can come hang out at the ocean, check out if there's any spring flowers around, and just relax. So a little bit of off-road kind of riding here. This is actually not incredibly steep, but moderately steep, and often on trikes on the gravel path here, I do find that I lose traction on the rear wheel. So it'll be interesting here because with the Delta, I have a differential. I have traction to both rear wheels, and wow, no problem at all, just crawling right up. I'm only in second gear. I could have been in 3, put it on turbo, and yeah, loads of traction, no problem climbing up there at all. I do really like the nice big mirror here. Just keep in mind, of course, that it turns as you turn, which is good. I can see a little bit more behind me. So climbing up the hill here. It's a long climb, not terribly steep. Put it up into boost, and I'm doing 14 kilometers an hour in 5th gear, and no problem at all. And again, because we've got the trike, I can just stop at any time on the hill. Now, I remember to downshift before I stop. There we go. I can stop, I can rest, I can look around, do whatever I want, because of course, easy to get started. I don't have to worry about balancing. There's just so many things to love about a trike. Now, so far, and on this ride, obviously, I haven't been riding too aggressively. In any of the riding I've done so far, where I've really tried to see, okay, they're concerned about front wheel lift. If I, really shift my weight to the back, go up a really steep hill, will I have some problems? And so far, I haven't had any problems at all. So easy enough to climb up that hill. Does take some getting used to signaling, taking your one hand off the handlebars. The very first time I got on this, I was riding and I took my hand off because again, the steering is so responsive. I felt like, oh no, I'm, gonna head into the ditch. And then I realized, now I can ride easily with one hand or no hands, and it handles well. But the key thing is you don't have to turn sharp, right? Just turn a little bit in order to change course. Once you get used to that, it's quite nice because it's very maneuverable. So speaking of maneuverable, let's head over to the trail. We'll get onto some gravel. We've got a barrier in the trail to get past. Don't think we'll have any problems because we've already got through one of them. There is a bit of a noise you may hear in the video. I'm not sure if it'll pick up the noise or not. There's something a little bit noisy in the drivetrain there that kind of gets amplified by that cover. We're going to get that addressed. It's just a little adjustment. So, hey, let me do that again. So, went through the barrier. So, here's the interesting thing. When I drive a tadpole trike, I definitely couldn't do this. I did a U-turn on the trail. That's not possible, okay? It's going to be a multi-point turn. But when I drive a tadpole, when I ride that to say this is how I get to work, for example, in this distance here, and I'm going to try not to hit that with the camera, I have my wheels in front of me, right? When I've got the 2 wheels in the front. So I can easily tell, hey, I'm going to make it. With the Delta, with the 2 wheels on the back, you just have to kind of be aware, oh yeah, my width is back here at the back. And so I just have to look and go like, oh yeah, I got lots of room on both sides. And the nice thing is, I'll just move the camera there. There we go. The nice thing is, it's right beside you. So it's really easy to judge the distance. So another U-turn because I can. It's so much fun. And I don't think I'll hit anything with the camera this time. And yeah, I mean, it's basically, anywhere you can go with the bike. This is actually, at 28 inches, it's probably narrower than most mountain bike handlebars. So, or at least, you know, the handlebars and the width you would need to safely get through something. The other cool thing, as you noticed at that barrier there, is I stopped. Yeah, and I didn't fall off, right? Because we see that a lot of times with people riding their bikes through barriers like that, is they slow down because they get anxious, and then they're too slow, and then they fall over, and it's just a bad situation. With the Trike, I can go slow as I want, line myself up, no problem. All right, also took the flag back down. It's really handy, the flag folds, and of course you've got that massive basket in the back to transport it. That way you can see and not be obscured by the flag. Nice kind of windy section of the trail here, a little bit narrower. And again, the handling and turning radius on the Delta here is fantastic. Lots of kind of bumps in here, and you can feel that suspension just soaking it all up. So you can actually get going quite fast. This EP8 motor is quite powerful, in fact. So I'm hitting 32 right now. You don't really notice with the Shimano motor. Ooh. Okay, so I did an emergency stop there. Brakes work really well. No problems with the, keeping in the direction that I was heading. Well, I stopped very quickly. No wheel lift or anything like that. So no concerns about stopping very quickly, which is nice to see. And I did that because it looked like the camera was pretty much dragging on the ground there. So I apologize if you had a close-up of the ground. Maybe I'll edit that out. We'll see how it looks. But I'll continue on my way now. And basically what I was talking about was how with the Shimano motor, when you get going pretty quick, you don't notice that transition between when it stops assisting at 32 and when you're going faster than that. There's really no resistance or anything like that. The motor's pretty much silent. I don't hear that EP801 at all, but it's very powerful, lots of torque. No problems on the hills with it at all. Challenging section of the trail here with a tree in the middle of the trail, and then a hill up ahead, and then a big curb to ride over. Thank you. Again, great example of the Trike just being able to handle all of this challenging terrain. There's a post in the way here, a big bump, and a lot of times people come through here on their bikes, and it's really challenging. So it's nice with the Trike. Super easy to get through there. Make sure there's no cars coming. Another barrier in the trail. My only concern is hitting things with the camera, because fit through no problem. And that's true for all the Trikes we carry. I ride Trikes myself, and I ride home every day on this trail, and now I don't really have to slow down at the barriers. I know pretty much where to go, but your first couple times, you may want to take it slow and just kind of line yourself up. Just passing on your left. Thank you. So just for fun here, I'm actually going to switch back to auto for the shifting. And this is one of the nice things about the auto, whether it be the Enviolo or the CUES Di2 here, is as I head down the hill, it will automatically shift gears even while I'm coasting. And if I want to manually shift the gears, I can do that even while coasting, even if I'm manually doing the gears myself. So that's a nice feature with that automatic shifting. So again, on the hills, you can hear it kind of shifting between gears. You can also just manually override that if you wish, which is really nice. So even though I'm in automatic mode, I can manually override it, and then eventually it's going to go back to that automatic mode. We don't have the manual override option with the Enviolo. Oh, So that was a hill. Had no problems, right? I didn't even remember to put it up onto boost. Going down, hit, I don't know, 35 kilometers an hour. Very stable, lots of fun, thrilling. At first, my impression of this trike, it can feel fast. As you get used to it, it's like, oh, okay, it's not so fast. But at first, you're like, wow, this is really fast. And you look at your speed, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not going that fast, but it can feel like it. All right, let's do one more hill climb here. Get another barrier. No problem making it through. Put it up onto boost. Manually control my gears. Doing like 18, 19. There's 20 kilometers an hour. The steepest part is coming up here. See if I can maintain that. 22, down to 18, 16, but still easy, right? It's nice having that high torque motor. This is the highest torque, of course, 85 Newton meters. Being the cargo motor, you get lots of support from the motor. If you wanted to save a little bit of money and don't have steep hills like we have here on Vancouver Island, of course, you could go with a lower torque motor as well. And again, you'll notice I'm looking around a lot more than I do on a test ride on a bike, and simply I feel that I can do that. I don't have to put as much focus on staying upright because, well, I'm not going to fall. All right, so this has been the Delta TX, made in Germany by HP Velotechnik, and you can find all the details, schedule an appointment to come try it yourself on our website at citruscycles.ca. One last bit of bonus footage here, again, showing you with the Delta there are some benefits. The handling, the steering is definitely one of them. Getting through barriers like this, for example, I can even do that, which would be really hard to do on a tadpole trike. I mean, the radius, the turning ability is fantastic. So if you've got, barriers and things like this on the trail, I think I'm just showing off now, you can really, get around wherever you need to, which is pretty incredible. There we go. You'll notice that I'm shifting my weight, and that's just part of riding a trike. I'm just naturally do that, always leaning into corners. This has been a lot of fun. You can check out all the details and the specs on this and any other trike on our website at citruscycles.ca.